Good morning, everyone. My name is Wendy Whitmore. I'm the Chief Learning Officer at ForMedApproved.com /ForMed Plus training catalog. And I'm very happy to have you all here visiting us and talking a little bit about our partner program. So last time I did this session, I had a little bit of sound trouble and also apparently had a little trouble getting the screen up in front of everyone. So I'm going to make sure that we've resolved all those problems today. If you give me just 1 second, I will bring up my screen. As a little housekeeping measure, we will, after this session, deliver a link to the recorded version of this session to everyone. So if you miss any part of it or if you want to share it with someone else in terms of understanding how the program works, feel free to do that. It will be linked to a YouTube version of this session. And I will also send you a copy of this slide deck that I'm going to show on my screen here momentarily. As soon as I get to my slideshow. There we go. Okay, so good morning. I assume that everybody that we have on the session today joined us from one of our recent conference attendances around continuing education. And if so, thank you so much for following up and trying to learn a little bit more about what we do. Essentially, ForMed is an online public catalog available out to the healthcare community as well as the consultant community as well as the adult CE community who might be seeking to enter the healthcare field in an entry-level role or a management-level role. We have some good bundles for those things as well. If you have any questions as we go, I do have my cohort Sarah Glynn on the line, and she will keep an eye on the chat box. If you have any questions and you would like to throw a message into the chat box or throw your hand up, I can unmute your mic or simply have her answer via the chat box. We can also follow up after the session with some emails to you regarding any questions that you might have. So first let me talk a little bit about what ForMed is and what we do and why we think our catalog for CE is helpful to the continuing education community. Essentially, ForMed started out with the idea that there was a limitation in the long-term education industry for healthcare professionals regarding compliance, regulatory issues, government incentive programs, those sorts of things. What we found was there was a lot of information out in the stratosphere from CMS and HHS and various governmental agencies, but it was dense, hundreds of pages, sometimes thousands of pages in final rules, etc., for a lot of these programs, and it made it very, very difficult for somebody who's actually trying to do a job in the real world to unscramble all of the relevant information for these various programs and requirements for their job, for them to unscramble what was available online and make it, make sense to them in a succinct way. So what we did early on in our initial iteration is that we started to develop some online e-learning and certification and career gap training programs for the medical community and consultant communities, etc., so that we could consolidate this information in such a way that it made it easier for them to learn. We also felt like healthcare was one of those areas where there was a lot of clinical information delivered from a certification standpoint, but not a lot of regulatory and clerical information delivered in that way. So that's the little kind of hitch or niche that we found ourselves in, and we've been very successful as a result. We are essentially, at this point in time, the leading content developer and educational research source on topics relating to health information technology, compliance issues, regulatory issues, government incentive programs, HIPAA and security issues, things related to tech and clerical responsibilities, billing and reimbursement, all of those things in the healthcare vertical. We have designed what I think is an extremely efficient learning method that also incorporates certification and career gap training, fully accredited across the board by ACCME and ANCC for medical professionals, nurses, doctors. We also, for select types of courses, we have college credit, convertible college credit from IACET, International Association of Continuing Education and Training. We've also been approved by a variety of other organizations, including New York State for their health and safety requirements, things along those lines. So we cover, I think, a fairly interesting group of categories as it relates to continuing education in healthcare and health technology. And, you know, we are so focused on content and so focused on the elements of what we do that we also, through our formedapproved.com website, provide quite a lot of free resources, career tools, online networking through our network of alumni, and things along those lines as well. So we're a pretty all-inclusive group, and our catalog is very well recognized at this point with healthcare employers, etc. So we've got some good traction over the last many years. Our content is developed very specifically and intentionally by subject matter experts in the healthcare industry working today. So from my perspective, as a Chief Learning Officer, my job is to make sure that my education is relevant and really extremely current in the industry, and that's why we maintain a bank. You can go to our formedapproved.com website and click on the About tab, and you'll get some bios on some of our subject matter experts. We do have a very knowledgeable and current group of SMEs in the fields that they are teaching in for us. So that is, from my perspective, a very big selling point for our content. Our content is also updated regularly with the most recent compliance information, final rules, you know, current drafts, any changes, and that's what makes us unique. A lot of content companies in healthcare build content that is stagnant, that is, you know, essentially topics that are the same from year to year, year over year. We tend to focus on topic areas that are what we call dynamic, areas that are changing and growing. So healthcare technology, for instance, what was relevant in healthcare tech a couple of years ago is no longer relevant, or is at the very least only mildly relevant as it relates to what is most current, and so those programs morph and change over time. We also uniquely present all of our content entirely through online self-paced and or online instructor-led programs. What I mean by online instructor-led is that every month we have a couple of titles that we will pull from our self-paced topic catalog, and we will attach a very knowledgeable and dynamic instructor to that course to provide basically an online classroom. Most of those classes are going to run 2 to 4 days, 1 hour per day, helps to accelerate the student through the content that we provide online and gives them an instructor to answer their questions in the moment, in those sessions, and then gives them a bank of information thereafter for the use in their practice out in the healthcare industry. So we have a little bit of both. We have online self-paced instruction, and then we, a couple times a month, we will also run instructor-led programs online in a virtual classroom. Just so you understand how those work, we'll cover them a little bit in a moment as well. Our content and our certifications and certificates are now widely recognized by hiring agencies, industry corporations, placement organizations all across the country. We've been very fortunate in that we've made a lot of great relationships with employers and employment groups to leverage our certificates and certifications to grow the knowledge base of their staff, to bring in knowledgeable people to their consultant groups and cliques in their employ, and to further educate or increase the education of the folks in those industries. As I mentioned, our training is all fully accredited for students, nurses, coders, doctors. We have health and safety titles that are accredited, for select requirements. If you have any questions about our accreditations or certifications, feel free to reach out to us or click on the CEU buttons inside our catalog around any of these courses. Our courses are also not only available in fully cooked certifications and certificates, but each individual learning block, modular learning block, are also available as content enhancements to larger curriculums for larger programs. We have a number of relationships with online educators and college and school programs where components of our courses and certifications are incorporated into larger titles. So if that happens to be an area that you're interested in, separate from our catalog program, feel free to let us know. Our current learning community is going to be medical professionals, health industry consultants, CIOs and CMIOs in hospitals, healthcare vendors, students at schools and universities, various other continuing education catalog providers carry our content, employers, placement agencies, et cetera, et cetera. We have a number of relationships with medical associations and online publishers of topics relating to health IT. So a pretty broad group of people that find what we do of interest and of use to their audiences. So to understand our catalog, let me just give you a brief overview. The good news about our catalog is that it's very easy to navigate. I think what happens in healthcare and continuing education in general is that catalogs tend to be gangly and big and tough to navigate and tough to search. Because we are so focused in our areas of expertise, I think our catalog is quite easy to navigate. If you want to check it out, you can go to formedtraining.com, you can go to formedapproved.com. We have a number of different ways to get at it, but there's a good search box at the top. I'll jump out and show you a little bit about that shortly. There's a good search box for titles that will, sort through the entire catalog and bring up whatever it is that you're looking for. And there is a great categorization. And if you look here at my categories, you'll see we have areas of compliance, areas of government incentive programs, areas in technology, and then we have a focus on our instructor-led workshops, an area for select teaching tools that we have available, and an area for career courses and bundles that I'll address momentarily, because that tends to be beneficial to continuing education groups. We add new titles every single month, and in 2017 we have so many new SMEs and partners that number will increase. We will probably be adding something like 3 to 5 titles a month. Again, with very clear categorization, sorting capability, filtering capability, so that people are hopefully find it very easy to search and locate what it is that they're specifically looking for, or to browse in such a way that they're not confused. We have professional certifications and certificates interior to this, so every single course that we have listed in here is going to issue a ForMed approved CE certificate and certification with seal. So again, as I mentioned, we have a lot of traction with the employer and industry area employers, so that is a benefit in and of itself. And then of course, if your audiences also need to have CE for nursing or CE for physicians or for coders, we have all of that as well. And that, we believe adds tremendous value to our catalog that some other catalogs may not have, even in our own industry. So let me describe a little bit about our self-paced learning model. We build our training on something called the 10-10-10 training method. And the back story to that is that for many years, early in my career, I worked in hospitals with physicians, and I needed to teach them very dense information about technology for hospital administrative softwares and things like that. What I found, and which makes perfect sense, is that physicians, by and large, were not too interested in long, lengthy, nerdy, techie type information, and thus we built this model, or rather I built this model with the training group from the company that I worked with, the 10-10-10 method. And how this works is that they will begin with 10 minutes of reading. We will review with a 10-minute audio-video narrative review, which is, largely going to be some animation, movement, moving screen content, highlighting, focusing on important bullet points in the content, and then a 10-question quiz with interactive lessons assessment. That would be considered, that 10-10-10 item would be considered a single module, and for each full certification course, you're going to have 10 to 25 of those modules, and for each basic certificate course, you can have 1 to 3 of those modules. So that gives you some idea of the difference between our introduction basic certificates versus full certification length and scope, and that is our basic self-paced model. In addition to our self-paced model I mentioned, we have instructor-led versions of our self-paced training, and what we do there is we simply help the student by attaching an instructor to that 10-10-10 content so that they have some, the instructor will kind of pull them through the highlighted and important aspects of each one of these training programs and allow them to kind of accelerate their certificate or certification by attending with an instructor at the helm. So we also, the interesting thing about our instructor-led trainings is that you can register for the next one upcoming. We always recommend, if you want an instructor-led training, that you register for the one in advance, and that mainly because we do update all of our instructor-led trainings to include the most current and relevant recent information, and thus that course is available to the student with not only the course content that they would get from the self-paced program, but they also get that lovely subject matter expert to answer questions. In addition, we do something that I think is very unique. We record them as we do them, much as I'm doing right now with this session, and we make that course available on demand on the same day to the student that registered for that instructor-led version. Why that's important is that when you register for a class that, let's say, meets at noon Eastern Time 2 days a week for 2 weeks, and you can only attend 3 of those sessions, and the 4th one you've got another important meeting or you've got a doctor's appointment or something along those lines, you can view that session that you missed on the very same day on demand via recording in your student dashboard. So even if you've registered for something that, because you like to have an instructor versus self-paced, that's fine. You've registered for something that you cannot attend live, you do have access to that live session and to that instructor via messaging for the whole duration of that course. So from that perspective, I think it's a unique and very, helpful model for working individuals. On the credentialing side, Form Approved is recognized, I mentioned, by school programs, placement agencies, employers. We also have our own internal professional review board. We've received accreditation for CE, for physicians, nurses, students, coders. We have additional approvals available for select clients or partners for pharmaceutical credit, mental health, other professional CE areas. So, from that perspective, if you do have an area that we may have additional accreditation available to you, reach out to us, ask us that question. If we are not familiar or don't have immediate access, we may be able to accomplish it some other way. So it's important to let us know. Since we have so many accreditations already, our paperwork is pretty swift. So if we do need to achieve another one for your benefit and it's not price prohibitive to your contract, then that's very possible that we might be able to achieve that for you. From a partner distribution method, our learning products are available to deliver in a number of ways. The way we're going to talk about today primarily is through the shared catalog, where we basically provide you with access to our catalog on your website, through your website, on a landing page, with a direct link. We have a number of ways to do that. But you know, to understand how our content delivery system works, the primary method is to direct buy, register, launch using our catalog delivery system. So we handle all the payments, we handle all the registrations, we launch all the students, register them, get them all their login credentials, etc. Really, basically, all you're doing is marketing, access to that catalog in your site or on your site, and then collecting a check on a quarterly basis. That's probably our most popular program, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth momentarily. We also have a direct student enrollment using our cloud-based learning management system. If you happen to have a situation where you need to include our content in your catalog, we do have the ability to provide access to our content through your catalog in a pretty straightforward way. As long as your retail system and or learning management system is standard, we have our content in a number of different formats. We have it loaded into dozens of different catalogs and learning management systems. So, we've tested this quite a bit, and if that is your limitation for your school or your CE program, we can work with you on that. Might not be as overnight accessible, but it does generally happen very quickly for us to make that accessible to you. We also have, some more in-depth relationships with select schools and programs that want to utilize our learning modules as part of their bigger curriculums. And in that way, we have APIs and other launch methods as well. So we are very, very flexible. Whatever your circumstances are, we probably can work with you if you'd like to add our content or include our content in what it is that you're doing. The nice thing about the catalog share, whether you're using our catalog or your own catalog, is that there's no upfront cost to you. I think, early on when we started to build and develop these relationships with various partners over the last many years, we recognized that the lower the barrier to entry, the better the relationship in the long run, not only for you, but also for us. I think that the easier that we make it for you to have access to our content and provide it out to your potential audiences, the better it is for everybody all around. So there's no upfront cost to the partners whatsoever. You can use our catalog, and in that model, you're basically capturing 30% of the sale price of anything that happens through that catalog. The catalog can be embedded in your website. It can be a direct landing page with a URL with your logo and branding at the top that you just link to from your website, or your newsletters, or your landing pages, whatever it is that you have access to. We were just included in a Parks and Recreation print catalog, and they just listed the URL or the website address that we provided for them in that print catalog so that people can type it, land there, they'll see their logo, but all of our catalog categories, just like you see them in front of you right now. You can use your own catalog. That's another option, and in that model, we provide you with packages that you can access our courses via your catalog, and in that model, it just requires a little tweaking sometimes depending on the kind of system that you're working with, but it's completely doable. That is a wholesale licensing arrangement, so slightly different. The main reason for that is that when you're using our catalog, we have a lot of fees and other expenses associated with our capturing of payment, credit card fees, all those kinds of things, processing, etc., of your checks back to you, etc. And so, when you use our catalog, your overall capture is going to be 30% of the sale price. But basically, in that model, we handle everything. You don't have to do anything. All you got to do is host the catalog somewhere on your site, or link to it somewhere from your site or your catalog, and we handle everything else. We're gonna, the students are gonna click through these categories that you see in front of you. They're going to select courses. They're going to search for what they want and select courses, put them into a cart, apply a discount code that is provided to you by you, and check out, and we handle everything else. So your end of that deal is marketing and check collecting, mailbox money we call it, really nothing else. On the use your catalog side, you guys have to deal with credit card fees and all that jazz, so we recognize that, and subsequently your wholesale pricing from our retail grid on every single course in the catalog is 50% off. So what that means is if you're using your catalog and the courses are in there, you can price them at any level that you like, understanding that your wholesale price is 50% off of our catalog retail pricing. So if you give too deep a discount, that might be a little difficult from a revenue capture back standpoint. But if you maintain our retail pricing, you're going to basically make 50% because we're going to invoice you every time one of those courses converts for 50% of the retail price of that course. To give you an idea of our course range, somebody asked me that the other day. The bottom of our course pricing scheme is $35, and that's for a basic certificate course. That's going to run 1 to 3 hours, and will achieve a basic certificate of proficiency and matching seal at $35. And then you will also, if you need the CE units as a nurse or a physician CME, we also have those associated, obviously in a smaller denomination for those basic certificate courses. At the top end of our pricing scheme, you're going to go all the way up to a $9.99 bundle, and those bundles include numerous certificates and certifications in order to achieve a career path. So just to give you a sort of basic grid concept, you're going to go $35 for a basic certificate, $129 to $199 for a skill level certificate, and then $449 to $499 whether you have an instructor or a self-paced version of a full 10 to 25 module full certification with full CE units and credits. And then the bundles, which I mentioned, which are just under, just around $9.99 retail. Now, mind you, all of those prices that I'm quoting in our catalog, that little grid, will be at retail rates. And most of our partners are going to issue a discount code to their potential audiences through their version of our catalog, whether on their site or ours. And with that discount code, the students are going to enjoy somewhere between a 20 and 25% discount off those retail rates. So the reason you want to do that is because it offers a major benefit to the student acquiring that training through you versus coming to us directly, because coming through us directly, they're going to find those retail rates in our catalog, whereas coming through you, they're going to have access to a membership or a relationship to you that's going to offer them that 20 to 25% discount. You will receive a detailed report including all registered student information, course title sold, your revenue split with each payout or invoice, whether you're using our catalog or yours. If you receive an invoice from us for the wholesale pricing, you'll receive it. Or if you receive a quarterly payment from us with that 30%, you're going to receive that same report. So the good news is you get a lot of detail and information on the folks who are taking advantage of the training. All right, so let me just be a little more clear about these two models. In the use our catalog model, basically what happens is that we're going to give you a branded landing page with our catalog on it, or we're going to give you widgets that you can embed in your own website that look exactly the same. You're going to indicate to the student whatever your discount code is. It averages 20%, but a lot of nonprofits will do a 25%. You sell a course or bundle via your managed catalog. So this is a job role bundle for an entry-level training that you can see on the screen right now. That is a $199 retail price point, If you were to give them a 20% discount with a code, that would make that sale $159.20 to the student, a significant savings to them, and then you capture 30% of that final sale price, the $159.20, in your quarterly check. And that amounts to approximately right around $50 for a sort of a mid-level bundle that we have available to us. That's actually our lowest price bundle, but that's like a mid-level certificate bundle for students, an entry-level training bundle that would earn you about $50. So with that particular certificate training, just to give you an idea of kind of how our catalog works, they're going to get a whole batch of those proficiency certificates all bundled together for a job role. In this case, that would be the Certified Medical Office Specialist. A nice little bundle of training. We'll take a quick look at that category, that area, so you can see it. That's great for CE programs, Parks and Rec programs, high school CE programs, you know, entry-level college, all that kind of stuff. But that gives you an idea of how that catalog system works. No upfront cost, no heavy lifting on your part whatsoever. You guys get access to the catalog, and every quarter we mail you a check for 30% of anything that converts. That's the whole deal. Super easy. The tricky part is to market it successfully, aggressively, out to your potential audiences. That's the make or break of whether or not this works. We have some partners that do unbelievably well because they spend a little time each week with their newsletters, including a link out to the store and recommending one of our live webinar workshops, something along those lines. They make a killing, some of them. I wouldn't mind running that as a side business myself, to be honest. That works very well. And then we have some partners who, you know, don't spend as much time as they potentially could, and subsequently, you know, it's not as lucrative. So that really is, quite frankly, the trick to making this program work. Partner distribution model 2 for our catalog is that you've got your own online catalog on your own website, still no upfront cost to you. You sell any course or bundle via your own catalog. You handle the collections, submit the enrollments to us. We still handle support, tracking, invoicing, and, you know, setup, logins, all that jazz. And then, you know, you essentially receive an invoice for 50% off that retail rate. So that gives you an idea of kind of how that works. To give you an example of our distribution partnerships, we have a crazy across the board set of relationships with a lot of different organizations, schools, you know, online publishers, medical associations, healthcare vendors, other catalogs, honestly, etc. So this is really just a smattering of examples. I picked and chose just to give you, you know, some brand names that you might be familiar with. Allscripts leverages a lot of our consultant level certifications to train their consultants to work with clients. That's a great relationship. We have a couple of medical universities that we've done tools and resources for. Rosalind Franklin uses our EHR tool as well as our understanding of electronic health record management for one of their programs. Ross University School of Medicine uses our training to help them in two different ways, actually. They use our training for educating their medical students on health and safety topics, on health IT topics, EHR topics, using our handy multi-title iBook, and then they also use our catalog, just like I'm recommending to you here, for their alumni program, so that their alumni has access to CEs and CEUs. Number of other, you know, online educators there, publishers, etc., that utilize the catalog program, just as I've outlined to you here. So if you are interested in the partner program or have any questions, you know, feel free to reach out to us after the session, after you've had a chance to look at the recording. If you go to formattrainingcatalog.com/partners, on in your browser, that will take you to the form that you would fill out to apply to participate in our partner program. We do vet the partners a little bit just to make sure that the audiences make sense. So when you fill out that form, we will connect with you to make sure that it makes sense for everyone, that this content would be relevant to your potential school, community, membership, audience, organization, and also to kind of figure out with you what makes the most sense in terms of how best to host or represent the catalog via your program. You can also call our toll-free line, speak with one of our program coordinators. We have live chat. If you go to formatapproved.com, you can hit the orange button. That is our live chat line, and we can connect with you that way. You can also reach out to me. When I follow up with a link to the recording on YouTube of this session and send you attachments, I will also include all of my contact information if you don't have it. Feel free to reach out to me directly. And there you go. Hopefully that was a succinct summary and that answered many of your questions about how this program works. I haven't noticed any immediate questions come through. It's possible that Sarah has already responded to some of you. So thank you so much for attending this session. I hope it was informative. I hope if you're interested in our no-cost training catalog hosting program and or access to our content that you'll let us know. And we look forward to potentially working with you. Thanks very much.